Hey guys, welcome to one of my tutorials for starting out in Unreal Engine. I'm just going to start up a project here and I'm going to go over a few things that I do when I'm getting started. Some basic classes, pretty much where to keep things. So we got a new project here, with nothing in it. Can make a new level. Just got a fresh empty level. Now, some of the classes you're gonna need when you're starting out in Unreal Engine for pretty much uh, everything is you're gonna need, first of all, your custom game mode. And then as well, you will need a player controller. And then you will also need probably a character, but not always. Let's call it, and then we have the HUD, which is a class that we will put all of our widget code in, as well as it's pretty much it that's mandatory. We'll save that. Also, hit save all here. Uh, so for our game mode, we go to open it up and we put the player controller, our HUD class. And we can do the tutorial character. That's it. File that. We go to project settings. In here we have maps and modes. We'll put it to the game mode we made. This is if you want to change the maps, but we didn't save the one we have yet. One more thing I forgot as well. The main one is the game instance. So we have our game instance. There we go. Project settings. Go back to maps and modes. We can change game instance here. That's our game instance. We could save this level, call it testing area, and that's that. And then we can go to project settings, maps and modes. We can put testing area as our startup for our editor, if we wanted to as well for the default level for the game itself. Now, what these classes are, some of them might be obvious, but you have your game instance, and a game instance is persistent across level changes, and it's essentially the game running. So if your game runs and you need something to be active the entire time the game runs, or you need to save information persistent across everything else changing, this is the one that's always going to be loaded in when you boot up the game and is ended when you close the game, and that's why we use it as well. Next, we have the game mode. Game mode is persistent only for the level that you are running. If you were to switch levels, you would have to change or load information back into the game mode. Uh, you can't change this at runtime. You'd have to choose it prior to runtime. So you can't change it in the game. You could set it to an override here, so it would be different than the one we have in our project settings. This is the one we have default. But say we have a particular level, like our testing area, and we want to use a specific game mode for this level when it's loaded, we could put the game mode from here. So if I had a separate one, it would always load into that one for the overrided level. And then any information that I want to keep inside here uh, that would be persistent to that level and things that are going on in this level, uh, I'd keep there. And then you have your HUD class, and a HUD class is a client-sided spawned class for your UI. So if you have any functions that you want to call and spawn to your screen uh, for UI, you would do it here. So we can make a custom event. We could spawn HUD UI, and then we could put our widget code along here. We'll just do something random here. We'll save a variable to it, and then we'll add it to the viewport. Now, I have this variable that we've created of the UI element, call it audio knob, because that's what we picked. Uh, Now, the point of this is wherever you have all your UI code now in one spot. So if I have another menu that needs to spawn in, but I got to make sure I don't have, say, the audio knob on the screen, then this way I could turn it, check for it because I don't have to go looking on other classes. I can just be like, is this a valid, is it valid? Does it exist? And if so, then, either remove it or, do what I have to do. But that's why we use the HUD class. One of the reasons why we use the HUD class, so that all your variables for widgets can be in one spot. If you need a widget to, you're pressing a button, but you got to check something specific, maybe you have another widget, and you keep it all here, nice and clean. So that, and the reason why we use the HUD is because the HUD is accessible from pretty much anywhere. So you don't have trouble like casting to it. Like you might put something somewhere and then you're like, oh, how do I get that information? How do I cast to it? Well, that's why we want to keep everything kind of centralized. Uh, so like if I go to my character, right, and maybe I gotta spawn my UI when he spawns in, so I get player controller, okay, and then I get HUD, okay, so I can do that from anywhere. So even if I'm in game mode, I can do get player controller, I can do get HUD. Okay. And then from there, I can cast to my actual class HUD. And then I might want to promote that to a variable. And that's it. Now I have access to my HUD. And I could get the variable. And I could drag off and be like call spawn HUD UI. Then I have easy access to my UI from anywhere. Here I could do the same thing. Ask to tut HUD. Run to a variable. That's it. Now I have my variable. I can call spawn HUD UI. And that's it. And that's why we keep things in the HUD. So it's always easy accessible and all of our UI variables are in one place. Same with the reason why we use a game mode to keep kind of our logic central to what's going on in the world. Otherwise, you use game state. But a game mode is better than using your level blueprint because a level blueprint you can only you can't it's hard to cast. You can't cast to a level blueprint. You can cast outwards, do other things from a level blueprint. But honestly, I never use a level blueprint unless you're doing some sort of cinematic thing or specific level triggers with boxes, like trigger boxes, then maybe, but everything else, probably not. So the reason why we want to use game mode is because in the game mode, we can, from any class, just like our HUD, we can do get game mode. So if I'm in my character or if I'm in a random actor, I can, I can always just do get game mode. And then I have access to, I have to cast to it, don't forget. It's not going to give me all the functions inside unless I cast to it. Or I could use an interface. That's a different tutorial. So I have my cast to game mode. I get the game mode I'm talking about. That's what object's for. It's, okay, this is the class. What specific one are you speaking of? So you need a reference to kind of indicate which game, what's the class specifically you're looking for in terms of in the world. So right now it's game mode, which you can get from anywhere. You cast that. Now you can do whatever functions you have in your game mode, or you can get whatever variables you have in your game mode. So that's why we keep everything in the game mode. Same with game instance. If I want to make sure if I have something that's persistent across level changes that I have to check, then I do get game instance. And then from there I can cast to the game instance. Just like that. Uh, and you can do that from anywhere. My character, I can do get game instance. So that's why you want to keep your shared information on these. Because why? Because they're easy to access from anywhere. So for casting and getting references, it's easy. If you put them in other places, that's when you run into trouble getting references, and it can be harder. And then from there, what other classes do we have here? We have player controller, which is pretty much same case. You can always from something else do get player controller. That's my player controller at index 0, which, pretty much going to be me. Uh, I can do that from here. So it's always easy to cast to these options. And then I can get whatever functions are inside. So it makes your life a lot easier. Just making sure you have these basic classes, not your actor. An actor, you always want to be going down into one of these lower ones if there's, persistent information that you're going to need somewhere else. You might want to save it there because casting to an actor can be a lot harder. You need a reference to something to cast to it. So I can't just be like get actor, I can get actors of class, but then I don't need to cast and it's getting all my actors. But I can't just be like getting it because it doesn't know, you're not saying there's no context of where it knows which actor you're speaking of. So it's not that type of thing. So, there's other ways I could cast to my test tut A actor. Uh, so you could either spawn it in the game mode, you could spawn it in here, and then, oops, so you go tut game mode, and then, oh, wrong one. You test tut A, sorry. We can split this to just make it so it would compile and spawn at 0, 0, 0. And you can save a variable here in your game mode. And then that's it. So now when the level starts and the game mode launches, it'll spawn in my actor test tut. And then from anywhere else, so including itself or another actor. I do get game mode. I can cast to the game mode. And then I have that specific class, so now I can do get tut. And there I have a reference. You know, this is the same actor, so this is pointless. Uh, but otherwise, if I just needed to get an actual reference to myself, I can do get a reference to self for whatever reason you need it. Uh, and that's it. So with those four classes, you got game instance, game mode, HUD, and player controller. You can pretty much get access to anything. There's also get player character, but that can be a little bit less specific. It's whoever you're possessing at the time. And that's it. That's pretty much how you get started with any project. You build out from there, keeping these classes with what you are going to need for their specific use cases. So like I said, game instance is always persistent. Game mode is level based. And HUD is, it's not going to be persistent, uh, but it is going to store all your information through for your widgets. So whatever active widget stuff you got going on, it's going to store that. Uh, if you need to save variables in it, you either have to build a save system or reference your game instances. Or your game mode if you haven't changed levels type thing. And that's that. That's the basics of getting started and making sure you have the right classes to make your life a little easier for casting. Uh, remember, so casting works like if you have to cast to something and you're wondering, well, what do I plug into object? The object is essentially the specific version of itself. So cast to technical players, it gives you access to a class, but you still need to know which one in the world it is because there could be multiple. I could have not in the sense of a player controller, but in the sense of the the actor we made. So this thing, if I needed a reference to cast to this, I have to say which one it is. So there's multiple ways to get a reference to this. Uh, you need it doesn't have to be like fully the version of itself, but somehow indicate. So for an example, say I had like an overlap box. I'm in a game mode, so this wouldn't, I mean, yeah, this wouldn't show up, but that's besides the point. We're just gonna use it for this example here. A component begin overlap. I could on the other actor, that could be if it is the test tut A, would give me which one in the world that it is that of this class I'm talking about. Because test tut A might have a variable on it. Okay, on the variable you know, it's a variable Boolean. And then if it's if it's positive on one, it might be negative on another. So like I can't just like get tut and be like, what is the variable? I have to know which one I'm talking about because one of them might be positive, one of them might be negative. It doesn't know. Uh, if you just wanted to get any of an actor in the world, then I would do get actor of class, and that would just give me a random one. The first one it comes to of tut A, but whatever one I got, it's gonna give me the variable of get A and set A. So whatever one it got me, and this one is a specific one of whatever one it got me. So the one that's overlapping in the bounds, I want to know which variable it has. Is it true or false? I want to get anyone in the world and see what variable it has, true or false. Maybe I want to get all of them, get all actors of class, and this will give me all the test tuts in the world, and then for the array, I can for each loop through it, and I can do with what I want for each one. I can see is each one is get a, and then this way I can tell all of them, check which one is a, maybe which one's not a in the Boolean. And that's it. That's essentially how you get information by casting. Okay, you have to make sure you keep or give it a specific one in the world. That's what it's looking for. So if you ever checking something and you can't, you figure, why can't I cast to it? Because whatever you're getting or it's saying it isn't, it's not valid, right? So like here, if I do get game mode, okay, like it's gonna not compile. Well, okay, it's gonna compile, but it's gonna fail. It's gonna return. It's not hooked up, so it's gonna return and say that either cast failed or invalid input into the thing because it's not the actual type of class. You can't just drop it down either because why? Because it's not going to give you the specific one in the world. It still needs a reference to which one in the world it is. If you want to just get a random one in the world, then you do this one. Uh, and then one other thing I see people struggle with is here. Uh, Say you have this function, right? And it's got no target. So see, it says error. You know, why is it erroring? Target must have a connection. Okay, so target must have a connection. Now you're like, oh, what do I what do I plug into to target? Why is it, how do I know? Do I plug game mode into it? Do I plug player controller into it? No, that doesn't work. Can't plug my HUD in it. Why? Okay, because it's missing the target, which if you read just below the title of the function, it says target is tut HUD. So my tut HUD, and there you go. So if you ever don't know what the target is, and it's asking you or says there's an error, then you just check target is and plug in relative to that. So uh, if I had like my game mode somewhere, target is widget. See, target is user widget, which essentially is this what I'm spawning out. So let's say you just make sure you have the correct target plugged in and you're good to go. And that's it. That basic knowledge should make it easier for you to set and get references to things or cast to things. Uh, there's a few other ways to get references and stuff, but I can go through that in a different tutorial. But yeah, I hope that helps, and good luck on your game dev journey. See you later.